This is the Sandmarc motion variable filter, or for other filmmakers out there, it is their variable ND filter for mobile phones. I've had this now for a few weeks, I've been testing it and seeing what I actually think to it, and this is my genuine, honest review. Even though Sandmarc sent it out to me free of charge, they have not told me what to say, and I can say anything I want, it doesn't matter. As always with every review on this channel, I like to be completely honest, and if I think something is good or bad, I will tell you if it's good or bad. So this motion variable filter is compatible with most phones, being the iPhone 4 all the way through to the iPhone 13, some Samsung phones, and Google Pixel phones. This ND filter is giving you 3 stops of reduction in light all the way through to 6 stops of reduction. And with this little clip, you can thread it on and then clip it straight onto your phone. So you don't need to buy a specific one for your model of phone. If you change phone, you can still use the same one. So first up, why do we need a variable ND filter for your phone? Normally when you go outside and start filming things, your phone will automatically expose regardless of how bright it is outside. The way it does that is by clamping down the shutter speed, therefore letting less light in, but that also messes with your motion blur. Now that may not matter to most people, but if you're wanting to get that nice cinematic footage from your iPhone, and you can do that with an iPhone these days, then you will want that motion blur to be right, and you have to obey the 180 rule. So if you're shooting at 25 frames a second, you want your shutter speed to be 1/50, the same as you would do if you were using a mirrorless camera. Anything faster than that, then you will start to get a little bit of stutter in your footage, and it doesn't quite look as cinematic as it could be. If it's a bright sunny day out there and you can't change the shutter speed, your ISO is already at a minimum, and you have a fixed aperture on your phone, then how are you meant to stop less light getting in? That is where one of these comes handy. So in terms of white balance, there is a slight color shift to the warmer tones. To be fair, that's really common when it comes to variable ND filters, and even with my Pro one, sometimes you do get a little slight shift. But normally that can be corrected in post, and a lot of the time it doesn't really matter as such because it's only ever so slight. But if you're using auto white balance, then it doesn't really matter because your phone will automatically correct the slight color shift and make it a little bit cooler, therefore making everything right. It'll counteract it. There's no extreme vignetting with this ND filter, which is really nice. You do get the 2 corners like opposite, so like the top left and the bottom right, where it does get a little more saturated, especially when it comes to the sky. And that is quite common when it comes to variable ND filters, including the Pro and Peter McKinnon ones. Luckily, you don't get the dreaded X that goes across your image when you go too far, because these are hard stop ND filters. So when you get to 6 stop, that's the most you can go. Therefore, you cannot reach the point where you get the X. Another thing like the Pro variable ND filters, good thing. The build quality of this is great. I don't know what it's made from because I'm not an engineer, I'm not an expert, so if you know what this is made from, let me know down in the comment section below. But it's not plastic, it's definitely some kind of metal, but that's as far as my knowledge goes. The end ring is knurled slightly, so when it's on the back of your phone and it's a little bit sweaty, you got sweaty hands, you can easily grab it, twist it, and change the exposure. However, even though this is made from some kind of metal, the clip isn't. This is made from plastic, and it's got a piece of rubber on the front and back to stop it from slipping around. You also get a nice little pouch to keep it all safe in so you don't get any scratches on the filter, and overall I think it's really good. However, I have found some problems with the Sandmarc motion variable filter. The first problem being the camera app you have to use the variable ND filter. If you want this for straight up photography purposes, then you can put it on, and then your normal camera app in the iPhone will allow you to drag the shutter for up to 3 seconds. But when it comes to video, you cannot change the shutter speed in the standard camera app for the iPhone. Meaning, if I'm honest, that the filter is pretty pointless. Yes, by underexposing the image slightly using the variable ND filter, the camera app will start to drag the shutter slightly and get you closer to the 180 rule, being 1/50th. But the camera app won't tell you what the shutter speed is, so you are kind of just guessing. If you want to use the filter properly, then you have to buy a third-party app. The one I've been using is called Rec, short for record, and you can get that app for the iPhone for just $6.99, but I don't know if it's available for any Android phones. But with that app, I could change the white balance, the shutter speed, the ISO, and change the frame rate for all of the phone, making this really, really useful and very similar to how I would use my Sony a7S III. It does get a little fiddly when using the ultra-wide lens on the back of the phone. You do sometimes have to reposition the filter slightly to make sure you're not getting any vignetting in the corners of your frame. And when you do that, you have to make sure you get no light leaks, so that's when light gets around the side of the filter into the camera lens, therefore making a variable ND filter absolutely pointless. Now, Sandmarc do have a resolution for that, and that is by buying one of the purpose-made iPhone cases. You buy one of the cases, fit that to your phone, and then this just screws on and off whenever you need it onto the back of the case. However, these are sold separately, so be aware of that. Hello. Sorry to interrupt. editor Danny, once again, just putting the video together. I've got to this part and it turns out that there are cases available, but not for the iPhone mini 13 whilst using this filter, which is really annoying, so I won't be getting one of the cases. But if you have the standard iPhone 13 or the iPhone 13 Pro, you're absolutely fine. So Sandmarc, please make a case. I'm missing out. And back to the video, thanks. The next problem I encountered is that you can't use this for the front-facing camera. The reason for that is there's too much space in the back to let light in, because obviously the front-facing camera is very close to the top of the phone, so it doesn't really work for that. Therefore, you can't see yourself and expose the shot properly if you're wanting to do any kind of vlogs. You have to set the exposure, turn the phone around, and then use it. But then if you put this on the rear-facing camera and want to use it for a vlog, then you get this. So the issue I've found with the Sandmarc variable ND filter is the microphone placement for the actual iPhone mini 13. When I'm not using the variable ND filter, you can hear me fine. It's because the microphone is exposed, but as soon as I put the variable ND filter on, it starts to get muffled, and it's because it's enclosed behind the variable ND filter. The clip is really good because you can use it with pretty much any phone out there. If you have an iPhone 11 at this moment in time and you buy one of these and then tomorrow you go out and buy an iPhone 13, then you don't need to worry because you can clip this straight onto the phone and still use it. You do not need to buy anything extra to be able to go between phone and phone. However, when you are using the clip, this back piece does actually block part of the screen. It's not a major thing, it's only a small section of the screen, but if any of your controls are underneath that, then you do need to move the filter to be able to access the controls to then put it back, and it just gets a little bit frustrating. However, as I've already said, they do make a case, so that kind of makes this piece completely redundant. But the key points to take away from this is that it is actually a really good filter. It's really nice to use and it's really, really well made. Over the last few weeks I've been using this, I have actually filmed some stuff which you'll see in future videos, which you probably won't even tell is from my phone and not from my Sony a7S III. But I think I'd find it even more useful if I had a case for my phone rather than just the clip. Pair this up with one of these and a case, and I think you've got a really good filmmaking piece of kit which is capable of getting amazing footage. So a massive thank you to Sandmarc for sending me this out. If you want to pick one of these up and give it a try yourself, I'll leave a link to it down in the description box below. And if you've enjoyed this video, I highly recommend you check out this video right here and hit the like button, as it allows me to share this video to more people on the platform. If you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button and the bell to be notified when I next release a video. And if you do, I will see you right there. Thanks for watching.